All right, what's going on, gentlemen? Today's video, I'm going to be talking about what I think are the three most important things you need to keep in mind while you're serving in Ranger Regiment to ensure that you have a successful career, both in Regiment and then, in the Army in general. But specifically, my experience has been in Ranger Regiment, so that's what we're going to be talking about. So for those of y'all that don't know me, my name is Zach Allred. I served with the 1st Ranger Battalion for about 6 years, starting in February of 2016, and then I got out in February of 2022. So it was literally about 6 years of service, and during that time, I attended Ranger School as well as deployed 6 times, 3 times to Afghanistan, twice to Iraq, and then once to Syria. So I kind of know a little bit. I'm not going to claim to be some expert, like I was just an NCO. The highest rank that I attained was E5, so I was just a team leader. Which is arguably the best job in a Ranger Regiment. But yeah, we'll get into it. So this is what you got to do to keep this. The old for the Rangers who know, bray in one hand and decision in the other. But this video is going to be geared towards more privates who just got to Regiment. If they're on YouTube, which you shouldn't be on YouTube, you should be doing, fucking push-ups and reading your Ranger Handbook and knowledge packet and working out. And then dudes who are thinking about either making the move to Regiment who are already in the Army, or dudes who are outside of the Army and looking to join, and specifically join 1st Ranger Battalion. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is you need to be very careful about alcohol in Ranger Regiment. Now, alcohol is the #1 Ranger career killer. It doesn't kill necessarily the Ranger itself, literally, but it will destroy your career if you let it. I can't even count the number of people that I know or have heard about that have ruined their career due to drinking and excessive drinking. Now, it's the Army, so drinking culture is part of it, but there are dudes who just don't know their limits and who either don't have a Ranger buddy to go with them and to keep them in check, or just don't make a good judgment call. I've known a lot of dudes, I'm trying to think of the number, I don't know it off the top of my head, but a lot of my close friends who I grew up with as privates had alcohol-related incidents, and then while I was a team leader, I had, at least 2 or 3 dudes that that were in my squads, maybe not necessarily that I was in charge of directly, but who had alcohol-related incidents either downtown Savannah or back home on leave. And unfortunately, their careers were cut short by that, whether that meant that they got forced out of the company or kicked out of the Army entirely. So, and then I've known through the grapevine, I'm not going to be naming names or nothing here, but even senior NCOs have a problem with alcohol, and across the Army as a whole. I'm not going to say it specifically Ranger Regiment, but because Ranger Regiment is unique in the fact that you can be released and kicked out of the regiment and then just sent to the needs of the Army while still being in the Army, it's unique. And the battalion commander and your company commanders and leadership ultimately kind of have final say in that. Like, if you aren't already a good dude and you are screwing up with alcohol on the weekends, like you're gonna get gone faster than you know. So yeah, there's that. So I'm not saying don't drink. It's again a heavy drinking culture, and to fit in, unfortunately, if you're opposed to alcohol, you might have to partake in a little bit of it. If you don't drink, then great. Hey, you're your squad's designated driver for the entirety of your career. Hope you're okay with that. So get used to being in bars and dealing with drunk Ranger, and have staff duties number on speed dial if you're going to be going out with Rangers and you're not drinking. So the second thing that I would say you gotta keep in mind, and this is more applies to like your junior enlisted, like your privates and your new tabs, is you need to use your time outside of work wisely. What I mean by that is, like decompress, go play video games up in your barracks room. I'm not saying don't be a complete hard-on for work all the time. However, if you want to be great and excel in the Ranger Regiment, what you're going to need to do is use your outside time to further your career inside while you're at work. So Obviously, going to the gym should be a no-brainer. Like, you should be in there after, you can't just count PT as your PT for the day. Like, you need to be in there lifting. There's no reason not to. All the Ranger compounds have gyms that are a stone's throw from the barracks. Like, there's no reason that you can't be in there lifting every single night, barring, it was like a reverse schedule kind of work week. And even then, like, you should be doing PT at least, once a day. Minimum, if not, ideally twice, with your squad in the morning and then in the evening on your own with your, like, they have strength coaches. Like, there's no reason not to get a good solid program. Like, they'll be able to program it right for you, so you're not burning yourself out and causing yourself to be injured through your working out. What other things you could be doing? You could be, studying. If you're a private, you need to be studying your Ranger knowledge packet. That should be a given. After a while though, like, you can kind of graduate and move on to other stuff. Like, you can get your hands on the other publications that are put out by Ranger Regiment. RTC 350-10, the shooting manual. You can study, more of more complicated things for a private, I guess, like learning how to be a fries master. Getting with a medic buddy and having him, teach you more kind of RFR kind of stuff, putting yourself in, like, just literally just sitting in your barracks room and think of scenarios of how you'd, like, clear specific kind of rooms and whatnot. Like, the little tiny things where if you're thinking about them and, you're kind of working on your own time is going to pay dividends in the long run once you're, back in the line, because there's really you don't get enough time to train as a Ranger. At least when I was in, it's changed because we're in peacetime. So it's kind of chill. Like, you're going to get a lot more training opportunities. Let me tell you, just from hearing about my buddies who are still in, just hearing from them. But using your outside time wisely, not just jacking off and playing video games and getting drunk. Like, yeah, you got to do that every now and then, but it shouldn't be the only thing that you do. Get a hobby, get something that you can use to make money outside of the Army. Like, there's so many other better ways to spend your time. And as a Ranger, yeah, you have an intense training cycle and you have a lot of work to do, but you also get a lot of downtime because of that. Like, you have a lot of 4 days, you get leave guaranteed twice a year. Like, use those times to really set yourself up for success, whether that be for your further career in Ranger Regiment or outside of the Army. Like myself, I started a business because I had a lot of downtime. The last thing, and I'm going to make a separate video on this because I don't want to draw it out, is don't rest on your laurels. Last one is don't rest on your laurels. Now, what I mean is, when you get to Ranger Regiment, you've passed RASP, you've passed Airborne, you've made it, right? No, you haven't. Like, this is kind of common sense, but you haven't made it yet. You still have something ahead of you that you need to go and attack with the same vigor that you did getting into Ranger Regiment. So Ranger School, obviously, is your next step as a private in Ranger Regiment. And once you get your Ranger tab, you can, I don't want to say you can chill, but you can sort of, rest assured, like, it's not going to be complete fighting for your life every single day. Like, you have your spot, it's good, it's secured, you don't need to, it's not life and death anymore. You're good. However, as a tab, you can still get kicked out. You can still, get passed up for promotion. So you need to, once you get out of Ranger School, like, you need to, what's the next step for you? Gun team leader, like, look at that and start figuring out and learning that job. Like, pick your team leader's brains. Like, they're there to help you. Like, they've probably been on a few deployments. They're there to bring you up. So, like, volunteer for extra duties that your team leader might need help with. Help out in the arms room. Just try and be an asset to your squad. Like, don't be the tab that gets back from Ranger School and is just a bump on a log. Look for that next position. As a team leader, like, once you get to team leader, like, your next step is squad leader. So I'm not going to get, you can figure it out, basically, is what I'm saying. Is just don't get comfortable in your position if you're expecting to make a career or, be in Ranger Regiment for more than like 3 or 4 years. Be constantly looking to improve and be looking at that next thing, and don't get comfortable in the position that you're at. You need to maintain the same vigor that got you to where you were throughout your entire career. And it's hard and it's difficult and it's exhausting, but that's what it takes to really make it in Ranger Regiment, and then beyond Ranger Regiment if you decide to try out for an SMU, which I have no, experience about. But yeah, that's my big three that I've seen. I could give stories about all of this. I just don't really want to make this a super long video. It's already, about 10 minutes long. But I could give, more specific examples for every single one of these things that I've talked about, especially the alcohol-related incidents. There's some funny stories in there, but it's kind of not my place to tell those, as it would bring, kind of a negative light. Just know that it happens, and just be smart about your alcohol use. That's the biggest thing you got to look out for, because it'll get you. So that's all I've got for right now. If you got any more specific questions regarding like this subject matter about Ranger Regiment or life in Ranger Regiment in general, I'll be happy to answer them either in a video or directly in the comments. You can find me on Instagram at Zach Allred Official or Rockwell Designs Actual, and you've got me here. You can ask me and hit me up on any of those sites, and I'll get back to you. And especially if you're looking to join Ranger Regiment, like I'd be glad to answer your questions and kind of mentor you along. So yeah, that's all I got for today. Have a good one.